Hello and welcome all the teachers for today's session. In today's session, we are going to talk about intellectual disability and slow learner. So as I'm supposing that some of you or some of the other teachers also have been connected to us in our previous set of sessions in which we had a talk about project inclusion, like what is inclusive education and how we can include children with special need in our day-to-day life, in school, in classrooms, and so on. So in the last set of session, we had started with the neurodevelopmental disorders, in which we had talked about particularly learning disability. So teachers, today we are going to take up another very prime and very important type of neurodevelopmental disorder, which is intellectual disability and slow learner. Why we will be talking about both together? We have to understand that first. The only reason being because nowadays most of the teachers, most of the parents, and even professionals do confused between slow learner and intellectual disability, although there is a very fine line of difference between the two. So we have to understand very technically and little bit in depth so that we can correctly and accurately decipher or differentiate between children having intellectual disability and children having issue of slow learner. So please give me a moment, teachers. I will be sharing my screen with all of you. So I suppose that all of you will be are able to see the presentation. So we will talk about what is exactly the definition and theoretically what exactly we mean by intellectual disability. It is majorly teachers characterized by two things, or basically I can say it is affected in majorly two areas in terms of intellectual and in terms of adaptive functioning. So if I take any child, for example, if I can observe the behavioral aspect of the child and I can see that, okay, he seems to be quite slow as per his own biological age, and maybe he's not able to perform well in certain activities like dance, music, playing an instrument, and so on. And also at the same time, if I observe the child, that his adaptive behaviors or adaptive skills are not age appropriate. That means if he's not able to do toothbrushing properly, if he's not able to do bathing properly or completely independently. So in these two aspects, whenever we observe in anybody, most of the time it may or may not be diagnosed as intellectual disability. So in the coming up slides, teachers, we are going to have an in-depth understanding about it. This disability originates generally before the age of 18 because it can be multiple reasons behind it. It can be starting from any head injury, any accident, any infection in the brain, high fever, seizures, or any kind of prenatal and perinatal factors can be attached to it. And there are more than 10 million cases of intellectual disability in India. Why, teachers, it is very important for us to understand, so that we should understand one thing as well, that we at times overdiagnose any child with intellectual disability, or as I told you, we generally get confused between slow learner, borderline intelligence, and average intellectual ability. So that is why we have to be very thorough with the current prevalence rate of intellectual disability, or for that matter any other disability in India. So going up to the next slide. Okay, so this is a very important slide, teachers, because in here we are going to very briefly discuss about what are majorly the affected areas in intellectual disability. As I told you, the example that we can diagnose apart before the psychological assessment or a detailed assessment. We can majorly observe so many things behaviorally whenever we are giving a class to our students or any child in the school. We have to be very thorough with our behavioral observations in terms of any children, any age group, any class. So what are majorly the affected areas? Communication, self-care, home living, social skills, leisure, self-direction, health, safety, and academics. That means in terms of communication, if I talk about any child with intellectual disability, that means whose IQ is not up to the mark or is lower than the normal range of IQ, he or she may have a lot of language issues, communication issues, not necessarily that it will only be verbal issues, even non-verbal gestures, pointing problems. So these also may follow under the communication area. If we talk about self-care or home living, that means, as I mentioned, brushing, bathing, toileting, eating skills or the meal skills, what we say. So these all comes under the self-care element or the home living. Social skills, if we talk about, we have seen most of the children having intellectual disability, they are, because of their lack of communication, verbal or non-verbal communication, most of the time they actually fail to communicate their emotions. They are not able to express their emotions with the peers, neither they are able to maintain friendship or initiate or start any kind of friendship on their own. So in these levels, they definitely, teachers require a lot of help from teachers or elders or their parents or any authority figures. Leisure. So people like you or me, so we know that okay, what all, we have so many options with us. Like if somebody wants to listen to music, they can just switch on any video on YouTube or anything they want to do. Or if I'm getting bored, I can directly pick up the phone and just give a call to anyone amongst my friends. But teachers, what about these children? They miserably fail to understand their own emotions, and moreover how they can do pass their time. This aspect really becomes difficult in most of the child cases having intellectual disability. If we talk about teachers self direction, I know that okay, I want to see myself after 2 years at some level, or when I was in ninth, I was very thorough that okay, I think that I'm a little bit poor in science and maths, so probably I will go for humanities when I go in 11th. But teachers, what about these children having these kind of neurodevelopmental disorders? They again fail in this area as well, until and unless we give a lot of treatment plans, a lot of managerial things, if we provide them, it's very difficult for them to independently, teachers, come out of these kind of affected areas. Health and safety is the prime concern if we talk especially about the context in India. Here, as I told you, a lot of overdiagnosing is also happening when we as psychologists even meet the parents or ask a lot of questions or from our checklists. So I have particularly seen that most of the parents will overrate or try to underrate, or most of the parents may go into denial that no, we don't believe that there is any problem with our child. No, I think teacher, you are, I think, intruding into this particular thing a lot, but I don't think that, you must be having a problem in the school. But I can't believe, because my son actually listens to all my instructions, he sits and does math sums also, so how can I believe that he doesn't behave properly or get good marks in examinations in school? So most of the time, teachers, there is a lot of discrepancy between what the parents are reporting, what the psychologist is observing, and what even the teachers are uh, have the concern, or what the teachers are complaining. So as professionals, we also, whether as teachers, whether as psychologists, we have to be very thorough in understanding their overall development in all of these areas. So really we cannot just leave one aspect and go to the other aspect, but a holistic growth and maintenance is very, very important for any child with any kind of disorder. Last, of course, as we talked about academics, as we know that yes, the child does not fall under the normal range of IQ. That is why it is directly related to the grades or the academic results, what he gets in school. So that those automatically will be quite poor as compared to his age mates. Okay, so teachers, this is a very important slide, I would say, because in here I've been telling you that the normal IQ, if I talk about the normal IQ range, starts from 90 to 110, what we call as average intellectual ability or average intellectual functioning. Whether I talk about your IQ or my IQ, it will be under the normal range. But when does the problem happens? If a child gets a score of 69 or below till 20 or below, so that is the full range of intellectual disability. Those disability levels only have been divided, as you all can see in the slide. Mild, if we talk about, it ranges, the IQ ranges from 50 to 69. Moderate IQ, it ranges from 35 to 49. You have to be very particular about these ranges, because once we get confused in the ranges, then definitely we are misdiagnosing a child, and that label will be there with the child all through his life. So that is why, teachers, it's very important for us to understand. Severe IQ, severe intellectual disability, if I talk about, it ranges from 20 to 34 or 35. Profound intellectual disability, that is any score below 20 or below. So we have to be very careful about mild intellectual disability, moderate, severe, and profound intellectual disability. Why I'm telling you, teachers, about it? Because it definitely depends. If, for example, I am sharing any example of any child with all of you, that if I would say, okay, there is a child named as Ram. Ram probably, is not able to perform well in his classroom, in his school. He is not able to maintain friendship with everybody, and he tends to get angry very easily, or tends to throw things in the class whenever he feels angry. But teachers, it's important that we know that every child or any level of intellectual disability keeps on increasing or decreasing as per the IQ range of the child. Which, how will we be able to decipher that, okay, exactly this is the IQ for the child? For that, definitely a detailed psychological evaluation is done. Thereafter, we as psychologists can say directly that yes, this is the IQ range of the child, and therefore this child may go to a normal school, or may go to an inclusive school, or maybe a completely special school. So this is how, as psychologists, we also try to psychoeducate the parents and the teachers as well, for any kind of betterment of the child. So teachers, quickly we are going to go through some very important signs and symptoms which will definitely help you to identify any child. If you are doubting any child to have intellectual disability or lower level of IQ, then I am very sure, teachers, this checklist is definitely going to help you a lot to identify any child in future. So firstly, poorly developed gross motor skills. That means if a child is coming to me and I can, from a distance, I can see that the child is not able to walk properly, he is lumping, or he is sitting in a very awkward position, or he has quite a hunchback, and so on. So any kind of poor developed gross motor skills or any hand-eye coordination, if you can see, is little bit, has some kind of error or is inappropriate, that means, teachers, definitely one by one you can rule out the other symptoms as well. Second, very importantly, poorly developed fine motor skills. Okay, so till now we have talked about the walking style, the sitting style, the looking style, or any kind of other things which are grossly related. When I talk about the fine motor skills, that means how is the pencil holding of the child, how much pressure the child is putting when he is writing, or how much pressure he is, in what speed is he able to turn even the pages of the book or the pages of the copy or not. So all these things comes under fine motor skills. Third, very important, has delays in 2 or more age appropriate life skills. That means, like most of the parents who come to us, most of them say, ma'am, he is already 8 years of age, ma'am, he has already turned 9. Still, ma'am, I at times as a mother have to give him little bit support while toileting. or ma'am, I have to still, till date, I have to feed him with my own hands or with spoon or with fork. So teachers, this is also very, very important identifying sign and symptom when we are trying to identify this intellectual disability. After this, teachers, we are going to definitely decipher between what slow learner is and who is a child with intellectual disability. Fourth is poorly developed concepts. Like most of the parents I have also come across, they say, ma'am, I have been trying to teach my child. For example, the child is in first standard. So, ma'am, simple addition, only 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. This kind of a simple calculation, ma'am, it's becoming really difficult for me because he's trying to understand, he is listening to me carefully, he has all his ears with me, but ma'am, I don't know what is the reason that every day I have to keep on repeating, ma'am, just one concept. When do I go to the other concept, ma'am? So it's a pressure from the school as well. The curriculum has to be very quickly it has to be finished. What is the scenario nowadays? So teachers, it is very important how much pressure we can put on these children or any child with special uh, any child with special needs. So that is why if you are seeing or observing that there is any lag in the understanding or the learning ability of the child or in memory, definitely along with learning disability, you can definitely rule out this kind of a disorder also. Significant inattention. Definitely, we had actually discussed a common symptom in learning disability as well. It comes up in more or less all the disorders, I would say. Significant inattention, fails to follow and remember instructions, the way just in the previous point I told you. You are going on repeating just one step instructions. Still, you see as a parent or as a teacher that, okay, I just told him, okay, beta, you just give me the glass of water and please shut the door when you go out. Then you will see that most of the time these children are only able to follow either what you have told right in the beginning, that is either to just pass a glass of water, or most probably what we have seen very commonly, they are able to grasp what has been told at the end. For example, if I tell them, what is the difference between, okay, 2 plus 2 is 4 or 6. So the child will most probably answer that, ma'am, it's 6. If I ask, okay, beta, so 2 plus 2 is 4 or 5. So most probably they have a tendency that they will answer 5, that what they hear the last. So this is also one of the very prime symptom. Frequent tantrums, aggression, self-injury, lack of ability of communication, as we discussed earlier, the non-verbal and the verbal communication is not age appropriate in these children. Unwilling to accept change in routine, it is very important, and this we are definitely, it's a very major sign of autism also. So in the coming up sessions we will be discussing about them as well. So they, most of the time, if you do any kind of change in the routine, that okay, every day at this time I have a habit of going to the school, and after example around 2 o'clock I every day have my lunch. So maybe it's possible that one fine day, if you try to change the meal schedule, most probably the child is going to resist to that change. So we can expect these kind of little bit changes from them. Too rigid, get stuck on one thing, yes, that if I want the red pen right now, I can show a lot of temper tantrums at that time, but still I will make sure that I get the red pen. Again, teachers, I will be very specific so that we have less confusion when I'm talking about all these symptoms. Not necessarily that a child will surely have all these 15 symptoms, but this will definitely depend on the severity level of the child. If he has mild ID, intellectual disability, then the symptoms will be a little bit in the milder level. If the child has profound or severe, for that matter, you cannot even take those children to any kind of school, and home care is maximum of the times which is given. So depending on the symptoms and depending on the levels, you can see the observable changes. Poorly developed play skills, Seizures also, yes, because if any child is having a history of epilepsy or any seizure like fits, what we used to call, definitely it is going to hamper his or her intellectual ability as well with time and with years. Has very few friends, poor expressive communication, memory impairments, poor comprehension of language. So teachers, these were all the more or less symptoms related to intellectual disability. So just a question over here, as I can see few participants over here. So just a question, as per you, uh, okay, as per you, what can be like how many, if I talk about any children having an IQ of, for example, 80, or you can say that, okay, ma'am, he is always attentive to whenever I'm teaching, whether maths, whether science, or anything. But, ma'am, he listens to me. The child is very attentive also. Still, he fails miserably to get good grades in the examinations. So, this is just a question to all the teachers over here who are listening, who is in the Zoom session with us. So, please, teachers, I want your replies in the chat box that what all can be the reasons that a child is not able to perform well, whether he is listening to you and also he is paying full attention to whatever my teacher is saying. Still, the child fails to perform well in the examinations. What can be the related situations or the factors, teachers? You can please write it to me in the chat box because I'm um, waiting for all your replies. As teachers, what do you all feel that what can be the reasons or the prime factors that a child does not or is not able to perform well in the exams? What all can be the reasons? Just as a teacher, what you all feel? Yes, teachers, I'm waiting for your replies. You can write it to me in the chat box. And also after the session, teachers, we are going to have a one-on-one discussion kind of a thing wherein it becomes experiential for me as well. So anybody wants to write? Any answer, what you feel that, okay, this can be the reason? Yes, somebody has written low memory, definitely. And what else? What can be the various reasons? So something related to low memory power only. What can be the other reasons? What we can think of as teachers? Okay, so right now I can't see much of the replies coming in. So I will only be more than happy to share the reasons what are generally associated. So yes, right now, whatever we are going to talk about is slow learner. Slow learner is why we are focusing also in this particular session, as I told you in the beginning also, because this is the IQ range 70 to 84, wherein most of the parents, most of the teachers, and even special educators also at times face a lot of difficulty and a lot of confusion in diagnosing the child. So what can be the overall reasons? If a child is attentive in the class, still he is failing to get good marks. Either the proper style of education is not followed in at home, or the child has poor retention power, as somebody has told me, that poor memory power. Or it can also be possible, a very important factor, teachers, for all of us to understand what we know call as joint attention. One aspect is definitely attention and concentration. That means I am giving proper attention and concentration on one list of things, then I am able to remember that list maybe for 1 day or 2 day or for a week. But right now, what you are doing and what I am doing, this is called joint attention. Joint attention means that I have to, ignore in a way, rest all the cues, whatever is happening around me, and my wholeheartedly, my attention has to be on just the screen and through which I am interacting with all of you. So a child, most of the times we have seen that it actually becomes at times difficult for us even to identify, especially what teachers or what all of you can identify is their level of joint attention. Definitely the IQ is a matter of concern, but apart from that, if you say that no ma'am, the child's attention and concentration level is perfectly fine, But what about that kind of a concentration, what we call as joint attention? That is he completely motivated? That is he, can he ignore all the things which is happening outside the window? Or maybe outside I can see a child going to the washroom, or I can see a group of children playing. So is he that much motivated in the class that he can ignore all those situations what is happening and only concentrate on the board and on what the teacher is saying? So why I just mentioned this point, teachers, because most of the time we try to ignore, or we unfortunately unconsciously we ignore this kind of a point whenever we are teaching in the class. So apart from rest of the factors, this is also a major factor in getting good grades in the examinations for the children as well. So teachers, now we are going to very briefly talk about slow learner. Why is it different from intellectual disability? I will clear, because the average range starting from 90 to 110, intellectual disability starting from 69 and below. What about those children who come under from 70 to 85 or 89 probably, which we generally consider as slow learner? So what about them? And this is again a question to all of you. This brought a question in my mind, that what exactly happens to those children whose IQ ranges from 70 to 84. Do you as teachers think that they also attend the normal school? Just a yes or no will do. Or you can just, teachers, send me a thumbs up, probably I will be able to understand. If you think that yes, these children whose IQ ranges from 70 to 84, they generally go to the normal school. If it's a yes, you can send me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So teachers, I want all your participation also. Whosoever is directly is able to connect with me in this session. If you know it, then it's great. If you just want to guess, I'm also fine with that. So anybody wants to tell me that whether you know by showing a thumbs up or a thumbs down that yes, these children ranging from this IQ, they go to a normal school or not? Anybody has any idea about it? So, okay, till right now I cannot see any thumbs up. So maybe again, I will only be answering. So teachers, but you could have also, guessed it. Okay, so yes, they do go to the normal school. In the initial years, definitely yes, but exactly what happens once they cross the class of first, second, and third, and so on, thereafter, slowly and gradually, especially the slow learners I'm talking about, they slowly and gradually start losing the connect with the age mates, with the classmates, with their friends, with their teachers, and as a result, most of the teachers do come up to us, or they go to the parents and say, ma'am, he can do, but पता नहीं ये क्यों नहीं कर पा रहा है अपने एग्जाम्स में, ये सारी बातें मेरी सुनता है, but still he fails to get good marks. So now I hope that all the teachers can understand that there is a very fine line of difference between the normal range and the range of the slow learner. So exactly my question is that where exactly all these children are going to go? Either we have fully, they go to the special schools, or we have the inclusion provision for these children in the normal schools. So yes, nowadays in the recent times, a lot of changes have been done in the education system as well, in the schools as well, and a lot of compensation and concessions are given by CBSE to all these children. Because this range, we also call it as borderline intellectual ability. Also, we call the other name as slow learner. So let us understand what is the definition. A slow learner is a child of below average intelligence whose whose overall skills have developed significantly more slowly than any child of his normal age. So, for example, a child is 8 years of age. His overall development, his overall quickness in understanding all the subjects in all the classes will be definitely little bit slow as compared to any other child who is of 8 years of age. The child will go through the same basic developmental stage. So teachers, it's not necessary if a child is a slow learner, not necessarily that the child will start developing the speech later on, or it may be possible that all the developmental milestones have been achieved on time. Still, still the slowness in academics have come up much later. So this can also be the possibility if we are talking about slow learner. But on the other hand, in intellectual disability, there are 90%, more than 90% chances that the child from the very beginning may have the developmental milestones. They may achieve them little bit late, or it will be little bit delayed. So that is also a distinction between the two. The child will go through the same developmental stage than other children, but will do at a significantly slower rate. So a teacher may have a confusion in identifying the child with a normal IQ and a slow learner, because there is no major set of symptoms how we can diagnose. But still, I will be sharing you the checklist what we have prepared, and which will definitely help you in identifying the children who are slow learners. So teachers, this is the checklist. There are 14 points. Functions at ability but significantly below grade level. So if a child is having an IQ of 83, I am very sure that definitely there will be a slowness in understanding the concepts of addition, subtraction, or any problem sums. He may or may not get good marks or better marks, but still a lot of time he will take to understand the same concept. Second will be performs poorly in examinations. This what we have been discussing till now. Difficulty in understanding simple skills. For example, the example I gave during the when I was discussing intellectual disability, may be possible that this child also may be able to understand two-step instructions, but may miserably fail to understand three-step instructions. So definitely little bit slowness we can expect from these children. Engages frequently in impulse actions, maybe or may not be like any child with intellectual disability, but still teachers, there are little bit chances that if I want that red pen, yes, I may wait for 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, but after a certain time, I may become very impulsive in understanding or reacting. So after a time, I may or may not react upon, or may not show little bit of tantrums to get that particular thing. Finds it hard to solve mathematical problems. Reading and comprehension is poor. Thinking, reasoning capacity is poor. Poor memory, poor retention. This is a very common sign in mostly all the disorders. Low self-esteem, difficulty in maintaining friendship, faces problem with time management. You may be going on telling the child in your class, please hurry up, Ram, you really need to give, right now I'm going to take your maths copy in like 2 minutes. You have to quickly finish the sum. Still, you can see that the child may be fearful that you are instructing something. Still, he will fail to submit his copy in 2 or 3 minutes. Definitely, he will be asking for more amount of time so that he can complete his classwork. Faces problem with time management, difficulty in transferring concept from one task to another. So if you tell any other child who is 8 years of age or 9 years of age, quickly shuffle from one task to another, that transition will be little bit quick in any child who has a normal IQ. But any child falling under the category of slow learner, he or she may have that transition delay or the transition problem. Always needs assistance to learn and complete. So therein, the role of the special educator definitely starts from here. Likes talking to people but cannot start a conversation. So this particular sign, teachers, may or may not be applied to all the children with slow learner. This may be a problem in someone, but may not be a sign and symptom in other child. So lastly, teachers, I will be finishing this session with this last slide, which is very important for all of you to also understand a very fine line of difference between slow learner, learning disability, and intellectual disability. Learning disability refers to the weakness, and the major differentiation always comes in terms of the IQ range. Because if ethically and technically, if I talk, then we have to be very, very careful before labeling or before diagnosing a child. That means any child from 85 or above IQ, then only we can diagnose a child with having learning disability or specific learning disorder, nowadays what we call it. If I talk about slow learner, then the range of IQ can go from 70 to 84. Then we can definitely diagnose a child that yes, he is under borderline IQ, or we other time we call it as a slow learner. What about the intellectual disability? As I mentioned earlier, it starts from 69 and below. So there are various ranges of IQ, but before diagnosing, you all have to also be very, very careful. Last line would be the slow learners will always be behind of their chronological peers, but children with LD, with learning disability, can, with the right help, become expected that you can expect them to attain at least some good or better off marks as compared to the child who is a slow learner or a child with intellectual disability. Like we all know the movie like Tare Zameen Par. So there it was a child having severe learning disability. And if I talk about the slow learner, the overall slowness in all the subjects, in all the domains, may or may not be present all through their lives, because there is no such kind of a medicine or any tonic or any treatment wherein we can say that okay, you give this medicine and the next day the child has a full blown proper IQ. So teachers, definitely this is not a practical scenario. So why, what exactly we do in terms of the management plan, not a treatment plan, that is to consult immediately a special educator who may be or may not be very much available in your school itself. We educate the parents also, as being psychologists or as being teachers. At least the parents and everybody should be on the same page before we start any kind of management plan with the child. So this is how we at least try to take care of these children, whether slow learner, whether learning disability, or whether intellectual disability. So teacher, this was the session from my end. So any kind of questions anybody has, whoever is attending this session of ours, any kind of questions you have, teachers, most welcome. I would definitely love to answer all your queries. Or definitely I will be much more interested also to understand your experience if anybody wants to share anything with me, that if at all you have come across or you have identified or you have given some help in terms of any child having intellectual disability. So definitely teachers, you can share your experiences over here. So anybody wants to share anything with us? And also, thank you so much. Thank you. And I would, yes. I'm so sorry. There was some issues with the connectivity, but that's a very ongoing issue nowadays. Okay. So teachers, anybody has any in a way covering autism, then we will be talking about ADHD and multiple disability, and thereafter rest of the physical and other psychological problems as per the RPWD Act. So we'll be having all these sessions in the coming on days. So I believe that there are no queries as such. So again, teachers, thank you so much for joining in with us. So as I could see that someone has really liked the session as well. Thank you so much for your input, sir. And so I'm hoping that teachers, I will be connecting with all of you in the coming up sessions as well. And thank you so much for joining in. Have a great day.